What's good, y'all, man? It's your boy, Scotty D, doing his very first podcast ever for the Johto League, you know what I'm talking about? And I'm quite excited, man, because you know what? I've been keeping up with Johto League for the past few years, and so, one of the most exciting times of the fantasy basketball year is the fantasy basketball draft. And, I just love analyzing and evaluating drafts, man. And I believe I had a, discussion with Jay Lamb last night, man, and we were talking about, the league structure and everything that was going to change in the league over the, past how many years, 10th year anniversary. Congratulations. But, every year, man, I always look at the draft and I look at Unu's team and I'm like, damn, man, I like that team, man. It looks like the most consistent on paper. I like it. And it's something that really always comes out at me. And this year, what's a little bit different is just taking a quick glance of the draft. And let me pull that up right here real quick. But just taking a quick glance at the draft, nothing really stands out. A lot of the teams I feel are quite balanced. I know I've been keeping up with some of the statistical analysis. And I know Jay Lamb likes Unu's team a lot this year. And I'm looking at it like, oh, well, third time might be the charm, Unu. This might be the year, man. But you know what? We're going to go through and do a little quick analysis, my own personal analysis. So some of the criteria I'll be looking at will be the general composition of a team. And then we're going to also talk about value of a pick, in terms of the position that you pick the player in the particular round. We'll probably go by round analysis. And I'm just going to really go through and just put out some of my thoughts on particular players in general, just some of the breakout candidates and some of the guys who might be a lot more interesting than usual. So we're going to go through it here, starting off with Anthony Davis here, man. I love this pick at number one. I'm going to tell you right now, man, I hadn't kept up with fantasy basketball in a long time, but Anthony Davis has been one of my favorite players since he even jumped into the league, since he was at Kentucky. He's just a freak of nature, and it's really as cliche as that sounds, man. I mean, he does it all. And the one knock you got on him is just simply he just misses games. But this year is going to be no different than how he was in New Orleans. He's going to be the number one guy. He's going to have someone that can feed him the ball in LeBron James. And he's got a lot of other guys around him. And so I really like this AD pick here at number one. You can't go wrong here, right? I mean, really, I shouldn't even be going through all these top 5 picks, top 10 picks, because nothing really stands out. This is kind of really cookie cutter. You know what I mean? Like, you can't go wrong with AD. You can't go wrong with Giannis. A lot of people like James Harden. I like Steph Curry at number 4 because Steph Curry, man, he's just gonna be a man in his own world. You know what I'm talking about? Because, you got Clay out. You got KD gone. I know you added in D-Lo, but I mean, Steph, he's just going to be in his own world. We're going to go back to when Steph was putting up about 60 in the Garden. You know what I'm talking about? We're going to go back to those days. I know a lot of people think Steph might have been washed up, or maybe he's declining because his numbers have fallen a little bit. But I think he just, the skill is still there. I don't think he's lost any of his game. I think it's just because he had so much firepower around him, he didn't have to do so much, So, you have him there, but he's going to pretty much be in a James Harden role now this year. He's going to be pretty much doing it all, helping his team win. The West is stacked, guys. The West is stacked. There are probably about 10 teams that can get into the playoffs this year in the West, just like it was last year. And Golden State is not going to be one of those teams that are, a lock for a playoff spot. Depending on, how quickly Clay can recover. And if they have enough firepower with D'Lo and Steph, and I don't know, Draymond might step up his offensive production, but for sure, Steph will be the guy to take over and really, really be dropping a lot of 40-point games, 50-point games. The threes are going to be there. He's really going to be counted on. I think maybe this year Steph might even have a good shot at MVP. But I really like all these picks. I like Jokic here at number 5. Is it a little too early? I think it's a little too early. Is he a triple-double machine? Yes, he is. But, I mean, do you pick Jokic over Karl Anthony Towns? I don't know. Karl Anthony Towns has been top 10 every year. Jokic, yeah, he's been right there. But, maybe it's just the strategy here. And this is why, and this is where I'll go off key a little bit and I say, man, I really like 12 teams. all the years I played fantasy basketball, and must I add, I'm a 5-time champ. All right, 5-time champ in my league. But that those are the early days. But in those times, 12 guys, man. It was really just picking the best player at that, at that moment. Picking the best player available. Here it might be a little different, man. You might have already thought, Taco Tuesday was thinking, I want to build around Jokic. He's a guy that pretty much does it all. He shoots free throws at the center position, triple-double machine. That's just something beautiful to build off of as a number 1 pick, especially a first-round pick. But, I mean, can't you not do that with Karl Anthony Towns? He gives you threes as well. He does the same stuff, probably even blocks more shots. But, you can't go wrong with both. And that's why I say in the first round analysis is just going to be a little different. Pretty much anybody you get in the first round, it's a lock. They're good. They're good players. The only thing I would ever knock on somebody in the first round is if, I see LeBron James getting picked first and then AD dropped to like the 6th pick or something like that. But I remember last year, it was either last year or 2 years ago, Kawhi had just slipped and slipped and slipped and slipped. And I was thinking, God, man, like who, I think it was that Kawhi and that was, he had a monster team. And I couldn't believe he actually lost in the fight. He lost in the finals. I think that's what happened to Mike, I think. But he had a super team because Kawhi just should not have dropped that far down. I think he was selected in the 2nd round. But back onto this year, 2019, baby. We out here, Damian Lillard at number 7. I'm liking that. Kawhi at 8. LeBron James at 9. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because, I've had this thought with LeBron James for a long while. For about a couple years now. And, I talk with my little circle of friends when we talk about sports. And we talked about, who's the best player in the game still right now, And I think it's Kawhi Leonard, but I think it's been Kawhi Leonard. And people just kind of slipped on Kawhi Leonard. And you might think, it's easy for me to say now because Kawhi, went off and he got, a champ. He brought a championship to Toronto. And it's easy, in hindsight to say that now. But I've been saying that. I've been thinking that. If you actually watch LeBron, and, I was talking about LeBron last year because, with the Lakers, he just didn't look good. But some people were saying, but, it's the Lakers. The Lakers were trash. He wasn't putting out his 100% effort, but was he? I mean, maybe he wasn't. But do you think his 100% this year is going to be totally, like, blowing out what he did last year? I don't know, man. LeBron is 34, 35. Correct me if I'm wrong, but, at 34, 35, you can still be really good if you're one of the greats. But is LeBron going to be a monster? I mean, we know LeBron, he can't shoot free throws at a phenomenal rate. And, he's really resorted to shooting the 3 now, which is good for his fantasy game. But LeBron is going to be the first time LeBron's going to take a step back in his career. He's always been Batman. And there's always been Robins around him. You know what I mean? And even when he went to Miami, Dwayne Wade had to step back. And when that happened, Dwayne Wade's fantasy production dipped. And so what if LeBron is just in that same situation now? He's playing Dwayne Wade to Anthony Davis. And Kuzma, whoever you want to call it, is going to be, Chris Bosh. To me, would you have selected Dwayne Wade in those Miami Heat years in the first round? I don't know. But then you're talking about, that's Dwayne Wade. He's not LeBron James. Well, LeBron, what I see from him this year is I do expect him to average a double-double this year. I think he's going to be a 20-plus scorer and a 10-assist guy. And it's been a long time since we've seen, someone average double-digit assists, outside of Westbrook. Before that, we've seen some years in Chris Paul and then Darren Williams and, of course, Steve Nash. But then, now this year, I mean, are we going to see with LeBron James? Well, we might. So, it's cool to see because we expect LeBron to make a little bit of a upwards trend as opposed to last year. So, I think that, the intrigue is there, but I would rather play something safer, right? I like Paul George in number 9. I like Embiid at number 9. Yes, Embiid has injury issues, but I would like Embiid at number 9. I like Paul George at number 9. And so, we look at that. I mean, I like Kyrie at number 9, being the lone dog there in Brooklyn for a while. Russell Westbrook's a triple-double machine. He comes over, he replaces Chris Paul's production. I think those are more intriguing picks. But, who knows? I mean, it might pay off. LeBron might actually be, back in that 28 and 10 category. That right there is almost Westbrook-esque. So who knows? Maybe LeBron does come through. But enough of that. We'll go on to the next round. I like Kyrie at 10, Russell, Paul George. I think by the time you get to Paul George at number 13, I think that's when you really start to see the elite guys coming off, right? The 1A guys. Now we're going into the, borderline 1B, 2 guys, right? You got Bradley Beal. I like him there. Who else is there in Washington? You know what I mean? And he's a beast. He might be the second best shooting guard in the league. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just the guy that y'all asked to do this podcast. But I like Beal there. I've been talking about Vucci a lot. I used to talk about Vucci all the time in y'all drafts, man. Yeah, every time y'all do like a draft party or something, I talk about Vucci all the time. How consistent he's been. He's a double guy that that does everything else solid. He doesn't give you a lot of those steals and the defensive stats, but it's been a little bit of an uptick last year, which made him a really good pick. And so, he's the only guy there in Orlando. He's got a lot of young pieces around him, but he's still going to be the focal point there. I like Vucci there. He's always been a personal favorite. Liking Luka Doncic here. Is it too high? Maybe. It's just kind of a little scary to see Luka Doncic at number 19, right? That just... out of all these guys out here, you got Zion even. Yeah, you got Devin Booker, Ben Simmons, and Doncic over these guys. Even over somebody who's very established like Jimmy Butler all by himself in Miami. I mean, just think about it. Luka Doncic versus Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? And we're not talking fantasy, but it's just kind of scary, right? And you're not supposed to draft based on name brand because that's how you get yourself in trouble. But... you telling me right now Luka Doncic is better than Jimmy Butler? I mean, that might actually not sound far-fetched. I mean, Luka Doncic is going to be a sophomore next year. Jimmy Butler is, approaching 30, but I don't know. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but, he's approaching 30. We might be seeing the best of Jimmy Butler right now. And, it's either going to be just, what you're going to get with Jimmy Butler, or it's a little bit of a slight decline. But, Luka Doncic, he's so young and he's so gifted and he's a young phenom and he's a beast, man. And he's got new guys around him in Porzingis. And it's going to be real interesting to see. I like it. It's scary, but I like it. Would I do it? I probably wouldn't. I'm the kind of guy that likes to stay safe, stay consistent, pick the guys that I know that are going to come through, right? Like if I were to look at this draft, I'm not even looking far ahead, but if I saw Otto Porter Jr., I would really like that pick. I mean, he's been that kind of guy. Otto Porter Jr. has been, what Trevor Ariza has been, few years back. Those kind of guys that stay low-key but really do the thing. Robert Covington types, you know what I'm talking about? Those are the kind of guys I like to get, But I like to get them late because that's when you really, truly get value. And so, are you getting true value here with Luka Doncic at number 19? Basically picking Luka Doncic as 19 and saying he got to be a top 20 player for the rest of the year. Is he going to be a top 20 fantasy player? I mean, he could be, but I would rather be safe and know that I know Jimmy Butler is going to be top 20. I don't know if Luka Doncic is going to be top 20. He could slip and be a top 50 guy, just be a top 50 guy, top 40 guy, right? But I know Jimmy Butler is going to be a top 20 guy. So I would rather I play it safe and I pick that guy right there, right? He's right there, right next. And so I'm liking Spicy Gasol's team here, man. I'm coming back around in the second round towards the third round, and I'm seeing AD. You back him over Jimmy Butler and Kemba Walker. I see no holes. These are two really solid picks. You got threes coming in. Kemba Walker all by himself in Boston, right? He's got Tatum and the whole young core and Gordon Hayward and all those boys out there. But, I like this pick here. I like Jimmy Butler here. I like Kemba Walker here. These are great compliments to Anthony Davis. You're getting some threes in there. You're getting some steals in there. You're going to pretty much have no flaws. You have no flaws. I can't, like I said, I haven't really kept up with fantasy basketball, so I don't really know what Kemba Walker's turnover to assist ratio is like. But if you ask me, we're gonna talk general fantasy. I don't really measure turnovers. Turnovers is something I don't really measure. I don't really play around or play for. I just draft according to the 8 other stats because, it's always been a huge correlation with turnovers and general production, right? One of the guys who turns the ball over, a lot in this league is James Harden. But a lot of that is just because of usage, right? And you want to draft guys who have high usage rates. Yes, high usage rates will result in, high turnover averages. But, you take that. You know what I mean? You just take that because of what a player can contribute in 5, 6, 7 other different categories. You take that one category and just punt it out the window, right? And free throws could be part of that, but then free throws is a little bit more of a niche thing. But going on with this, it just kind of I like everything, I like this whole 1, 2, 3 punch from Spicy Gasol. I'm really liking it as I'm going through it, and I don't want to take keep y'all too long, but I'm kind of going through it team by team now. I'm not gonna go round by round. But, let me just finish the third round and then we'll move on to team by team analysis. But I like Ben Simmons next. He's a monster. He does it all. I'll be honest. I haven't kept up with a lot with Atlanta, last year. So I didn't know how much Trae Young was contributing, how much John Collins was contributing. I see them as the next 2 picks, but I like them this year. And I think Atlanta is really doing a good job. I really like, Cam Reddish. I'm really liking Cam Reddish. He was my favorite pick of the draft this year. So I think it's a young team that's growing. I think they got a lot of, I think I won't say the sky's the limit, but you have to expect these guys to improve as a whole, right? They're all young, they're all growing, and I think that Trae Young and John Collins, you have to expect an increase, especially Trae Young. This is going to be a sophomore season. I think John Collins, this might be his 3rd or 4th season. I think it might be his 3rd season. But you have to expect that those 2 guys are going to be the core guys, right? Those were the guys that were there before. You got Herter and then Cam Reddish. You got all those other guys coming in. And I think they're going to grow as a whole. And I think that is going to be a positive influence in their fantasy production. Loving DeAndre Ayton here. I see the 2 Phoenix guys, Ayton and Booker. Ayton, he was the first overall pick. But, a lot of people maybe, set the bar really high for Ayton. But what you got from Ayton, you couldn't have been dissatisfied. I mean, he was close to a double-double if he wasn't a double-double. And yes, he didn't block a lot of shots, as a lot of people expected. But he was never really a true shot blocker in college anyways. He was really, truly an offensive juggernaut. And so, what are we to expect this year, in Phoenix? Not a lot of people are excited for Phoenix. They don't seem to look like they're on the upwards trend here. So is DeAndre gonna be, take a huge leap here and say, look, I'm gonna put the team on my back and be one of the true core guys. I know it's always Devin Booker this, Devin Booker that in Phoenix, but can he take over the next step and say, look, I can be the number 2 guy right next to Devin. Shoot, I might even be the number 1 guy, right? So, DeAndre can really get his defensive stats up. He can be a really, really good center in this league, in terms of production. I think he'll be right there in 2nd round value. So getting him right here in the middle of the 3rd round, I like it. Because at number, what is this? This is going to be number 25, right? This is the number 25 pick. The 25th pick, I think DeAndre Ayton was just sitting, I know for sure he was top 50, but I want to say he was sitting closer to this area, mid 50s, not mid 50s, but like, 25s, right in the, the 20 to 30 range, 35, 40 range. You get him here, it's a lot of upside, which is basically what I'm saying. I like it because, right here, who else are you going to turn to? Devin Booker would be the more consistent pick. I like Devin Booker here. I would actually pick Devin Booker here over DeAndre Ayton because I know what I'm getting with Devin. I know he's going to be there. He's going to get me the 3s right here. But Taco Tuesday, as I'm looking at his team, I know I'm going through the 3rd round, but as I'm looking at his team, 4 centers selected in the first 4 picks. And there's a correlation here. So I'm seeing that he's building his team around big men, and that's fine. Because as we're moving down the draft, there aren't really a lot of great point guards left, right? I mean, we could say that, but I like Kyle Lowry. I like Chris Paul, and then Chris Paul in OKC is gonna be doing this thing. Kyle Lowry is gonna be doing this thing. De'Aaron Fox is gonna be doing this thing. So could he have selected some of those guys instead? Possibly. So I'm not a biggest fan of DeAndre Ayton, but I see the upside pick there. But I like Devin Booker there. I like Zion Williamson here. I think he's truly a beast. I think he for sure will not bust. I think he for sure will be a top 50 fantasy guy. So the question is was it too early to get him at number 27? Years past, rookies just don't get ranked that high in fantasy basketball because you pick the guys that you know are going to come through first, right? You don't want to pick the Anthony Bennett's and then regret that shit. But, it happens, what I mean? And Zion Williamson this year, I really like because, dude, one thing about me is I've actually stopped caring about NBA basketball until the 2019 offseason. And that really reignited my interest in the NBA again because of all the parity being restored in the league. So most of my interest and most of my attention has gone towards college basketball. And I've kept up with college basketball for the last 3 years. I did a lot of betting in college basketball, and that was my moneymaker. And so I've kept up and I've watched these kids play. Zion Williamson is no joke. I know they really, 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 glorified him, throughout the season, but it's with a reason because he really is that good. He really is that good. So I like him here. And Miles Turner, Donovan Mitchell, Capella, so on. But so from here on, I'm gonna go on with the teams. Taking a while here. You're probably just kind of going through and like, yo, you babbling too much. So I'm gonna go through with Spicy Gasol first, right? I really like the first 3 picks. LaMarcus Aldridge I'm gonna say this is the 40th pick. So I like him here, because LaMarcus has just been so consistent every year. LaMarcus he's a Hall of Famer. And he, this is very consistent. Very, very consistent. I like LaMarcus here a lot. The Buddy Hield, and just because I'm looking at the draft board right now, I'm seeing Buddy Hield over De'Aaron Fox, and that makes me go, whoa, hold up. There had to have been a mistake here somewhere because unless this guy really liked Buddy Hield, I like Buddy Hield, right? I kept up with the senior season in Oklahoma. I really like him, but you don't pick him over De'Aaron Fox here. That's just, that's borderline ridiculous. But maybe he sees something that I don't see. But I like it. I like LaMarcus Aldridge here. He's playing on the theme of consistency, which again is why I don't really like the Buddy Hield pick. Because what are you going for here? I mean, you're looking for a lot of threes, a lot of scoring, and maybe some potential for some upside. I don't like it. I think going down. I see LaMarcus Aldridge being picked. Could you have not liked Mike Conley there? Even if you didn't like De'Aaron Fox, right? De'Aaron Fox is a young guy. He's been good. He's gets a lot of steals. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's fun to watch. He's young and growing, right? But even if you didn't like De'Aaron Fox, let's say you just said, I don't like De'Aaron Fox. You don't like Mike Conley there as a very consistent guy that I think in Utah he's going to be counted on. He's going to be, Mike Conley throughout all the years of fantasy, he's been such an underrated guy, man. Just totally gets overlooked because Mike Conley is in, the same. When you think point guards, you think of Chris Paul, you think Steph, you think Dame, you think Russell, you think Kyrie, you think Kemba now even, and then you got all the young guys coming up, and with Ja Morant getting picked up this year, you could argue Ja Morant has more excitement, to NBA fans than as opposed to Mike Conley. Mike Conley, you just know what you're gonna get. It's not bad. It's great. If anything, I like it. It's good, but. Buddy Hield here. I'm not sure. Brook Lopez, he was solid last year. Liked him in terms of providing a lot of blocks and a lot of threes. The threes really gave him a lot of fantasy value there. Liking Jamal Murray here at the 7th round because Jamal Murray, in my opinion, is a future All-Star. And if it ain't gonna be this year, it's gonna be sometime soon. And I think Jamal Murray, his production will continue to grow and grow and grow, especially in Denver's system. Denver, I expect them to go faster even, and they're gonna add in Michael Porter Jr. and I'm really gonna be excited with that because now Jamal Murray is gonna have a lot of guys around him to give him some backup. And you have the 1-2 punch with Jamal Murray and Jokic. I think Jamal is gonna be a really nice pick here at number 7. Miles Bridges, this is an upside pick. Unless I don't know something, I think this is an upside pick. What's over there in Charlotte? So, it'll be kind of cool to see if Miles Bridges takes a big leap here and, says, look, I'm going to be, a big piece here. I mean, he has the physical dimensions. I mean, he is a physical athlete. He's an athletic freak, man. I mean, Miles Bridges is a beast. I watched him when he was in Michigan State. He was a monster. Right, Miles Bridges is one of those guys. The guys who have the highest fantasy upside are your 3-and-D guys. Right, it's your guys who are 6'9", 6'8", 6'10", 225, 235. Because they can do everything inside, outside, shoot threes. Free throws will be there. Because they don't just shoot threes, but they also they drive the ball inside. Their field goal percentage, sits around that 45 to 48% range. Maybe it could be a little lower depending on what kind of player we're talking about here. But, the only guys that really get you 1-and-1, a steal, a block, throw the threes in there, are those 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 6'10 guys. Miles Bridges, he sits right there. And so right there in Charlotte, he's got every opportunity. I like it. Josh Richardson, liking the pick. He's a gunner. He shoots a lot of threes, and that's something that Philadelphia really lacks. They don't have enough shooters over there, especially with Redick gone. Josh Richardson comes in, and I like Josh Richardson over JJ Redick actually, because Josh Richardson is a better defender. He gets steals, and I like that. And so we're just going down, and I see a lot of 3D guys here. I'm talking about DeLon Wright is a really cool, prospective point guard there. I mean, he's more of a backup guy in my opinion, but we'll see. I think Doncic is gonna end up being, the true ball handler there in Dallas. But liking Mikal Bridges here, he has a shot. He did get some playing time here in Phoenix, and then Jarrett Allen at number 13, that the 13th round, it kind of shocks me because I think Jarrett Allen can break out and be a huge part for Brooklyn. Yes, he's behind DeAndre Jordan now, but when Jarrett Allen was playing, man, I mean, he really he was a big niche guy, yeah, But Jarrett Allen's upside is actually DeAndre Jordan, which I think is funny because Jarrett Allen he blocks a lot of shots. He only, gets put backs and, easy buckets inside. That's his upside. So getting that at number 13, let's say a DeAndre Jordan injury happens, you got something going on there. So moving on. All right, but yeah, I'm actually going to try to rush through this a little bit. I didn't even notice I was 28 minutes in. I probably was elaborating way too much on certain players. But looking at this team as a whole, I really like it. There's a lot of guys that, get steals. You got Jarrett Allen as a guy that maybe might get a couple blocks a game, and even on a limited role. A lot of 3-and-D guys who probably might get 1-and-1. Got a lot of guys who could shoot threes on this team. Jamal Murray, Buddy Hield, Kemba Walker, Jimmy Butler, AD. Probably could get a couple threes a game. It's very balanced. That's the one thing I noticed. I really like this balanced approach. The one thing that just stands out is that Buddy Hield pick, because I keep thinking, there could have been something else. There could have been something else further down the line. Even that Kevin Love pick doesn't look too bad. If you really get Buddy Hield for the scoring and the threes, you had to have taken a look at Kevin Love to maybe be a better pick there. I just think Buddy Hield in the 5th round was way too early. But we'll move on. Go Bear or go home, right? Liking it. Liking that you have Giannis as your one guy who, does it all. But when you pick a guy like Giannis, you have to start building around threes, right? Getting a guy like Luka, is another do-it-all guy. Ben Simmons, another do-it-all guy. The thing that I don't see going on with these top 3 picks is that you don't have any threes here. Luka, yeah, he can shoot some threes. but Ben doesn't shoot any threes. Giannis doesn't shoot any threes. We expect that they're gonna, maybe get 0.6, 0.7 threes this year on average? Maybe. But I don't expect Giannis to start gunning and hitting 2 threes a game. I don't expect Ben Simmons to start gunning and hitting 2 threes a game. So the clear-cut approach here is that I see is that we got 3 guys that are do-it-all type guys, which is actually really cool. I like it. You add in a big man there with Blake Griffin, who's really added that 3 ball himself, right? So maybe you're trying to, fill a little bit of gap there. Get, some off-position threes and, get, a double-double guy in there. And then you have De'Aaron Fox, who does, had a real good lock on the steals column. I think it was last year. I think he led, but I could be wrong. But yeah. I like Julius Randle here. He's it's a bit of it's a bit confusing over there. The situation over there in New York right now. They're just collecting a bunch of random dudes. I think Julius Randle should be the number 1 guy there in New York, but we'll have to revisit that. I like CJ McCollum here. And don't get me wrong, I don't know if I'm just missing something here, but CJ in the 7th round just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem right. CJ is a top shooting guard in this league. You might, if I'm really starting to think about it, what does CJ really do outside of scoring, right? He gets you a lot of threes, he gets to the line, he scores. What else does he? But does he? Provide defensive stats? I'm not really too sure. Like I said, I've been outside from the fantasy game for a while, so I don't know if CJ should get you stats. But the one thing you do need to get steals from is from that 2 guard position. You don't get steals from that position, then you're not getting the max amount of production from that position, right? That's why you like guys like Jimmy Butler and, the other guys who are like, guard forward hybrids. We talk about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, all those guys, those are like shooting guard, small forward hybrids. Those guys get you a lot of steals. And so you want guys like that. So CJ McCollum, I don't know. We know that he is who he is. He's a phenomenal scorer, but is he going to be great for fantasy? Is he going to be right there outside the top 50? I don't know. I just don't think that he should be a guy that's outside the top 50. But looking at the rest of the team, it's a little lackluster. Kelly Oubre Jr. was a guy that was a little interesting when he was with Washington. Now he's with Phoenix. I see Andrew Wiggins there in Minnesota. And Andrew Wiggins is just kind of a guy that is, I know what I'm going to get. He's a guy that they're going to count on the score, but doesn't do really much anything else. And then looking at everyone else is kind of a little lackluster. I know Spencer Dinwiddie has had his time there in Brooklyn, but you got a new sheriff in town now, son. So I don't know. The rest of the team just looks a little lackluster to me. But I like the whole idea of having this whole all-rounded top 3 and then trying to fill in some of the gaps with the other guys. But I just don't know if the gaps are being filled by those other guys. Enes Kanter and Kelly Oubre Jr. I don't know. It to me seems like a project in the making. So whether I like Spicy Gasol, Gobert, or go home, I like Spicy Gasol a little more. So we're going to look here. We're looking at the Zion King right here. James Harden, whoever probably got this guy, whoever got this pick, whoever had James Harden fall on, he's probably really excited. James Harden, hometown pick. But he's definitely worth it. He's a top 3 guy. James Harden is a beast. He should stay a beast. But as we go further down, Drew Holiday as a top 20 pick. I don't know. Did he finish top 20 last year? I don't know, man. I mean, let me pull up my shit, man. I mean, I just don't know. Am I missing something here? Because I just don't remember Drew Holiday ever even touching the top 20. So, you think, Drew Holiday, he does a little bit of everything. He, shoots threes, gets a lot of steals, gets a lot of assists. And those are really, it's a good baseline. He scores. He's got does a little bit of everything. And so, I like it there, but is he top 20? I just don't know, man. I just don't know if he's a top 20 guy. I don't know if I want to be picking Drew Holiday over Jimmy Butler. It just kind of doesn't make sense to me. You might think, well, in New Orleans, what do they got over there? But guys, you have to remember, New Orleans, in my opinion, is a team that can sneak into the playoffs. Real talk. Because they have a very young core. They got pretty much all the Lakers guys. But, you add Drew Holiday to that. You add Zion Williamson to that. This is a team that looks very intriguing. And to me, the way I see this is, you got Lonzo there. And so are they going to play Lonzo with Drew Holiday? I don't know. It just doesn't, it's a little scary. So I wouldn't have picked Drew there. There's some questions there. So it's a little bit confusing to me. Trae Young is an exciting pick. He should grow. Like I said, he should grow. I like him there. Porzingis is one of my guys who I think will bounce back. I think he's going to be back into that elite category of, being a 20 and 10 guy who can shoot a lot of threes and get a lot of blocks. And that's going to be worth top 50 in this league. I like it. Is it risky? Yeah, because we hadn't seen Porzingis in a long time. So it's scary. Like Kevin Love at the fifth round pick. It's consistent. Kevin Love, who's there in Cleveland? He's going to be the number one guy there. He's top 50 guy. So you get him there. So going down, not going to really go through every single pick, but is Bam Bam going to be a big part of that, that roster? I know that Hassan ain't there no more, and they've really been moving forward with Bam Bam, but is he really going to be very productive there in Miami? I don't know. He could just be just a shot blocker, that, gets a bunch of putbacks, I've never been a fan of those kind of players, the DeAndre Jordan types, that, field goal percentage and, the 60% range and gets a bunch of blocks. I just don't like that. If you're going to want to focus on blocks or try to at least contribute in the blocks category, you want that to be paired with like Anthony Davis, right? You want that to be paired with other guys, with guys that can get other things, right? To me, the DeAndre Jordan types, they get you two things, and that's it. And it may be you say low turnovers, but is it worth it? Is it worth it? I just don't know. So to me, I don't really like it. Bledsoe is solid pick there. I think he's going to be a solid contributor. He is going to be relied on to do the point guard duties there over there with Giannis. Liking Karis LeVert, even though his production should dip a little bit with Kyrie there, and especially if KD ever comes back. Karis was not going to be relied on as much. But Van Vliet in Toronto, you got Jonathan Isaac. I don't know, man. It's a little lackluster, right? When I'm looking at this, I'm thinking of Pirtle over there in San Antonio. I don't know. These guys are really gonna. I think in the late rounds, you try to get the guys who are going to really outperform their ADP, right? They're going to, really just blossom and be underlooked, right? And I don't see anybody that could do that. Maybe Jonathan Isaac, but I don't see anybody else that could do that. So that really confused me there. I don't know any of those picks if they really stand out to me. I actually don't really like this team that much. I feel like it's a mixed bag of stuff. I got James Harden. Now I could just throw a bunch of pieces together. That's what it sounds like to me. But there are a lot of threes on this team. A lot of threes. But the one thing I look at is I just look at those last picks and I just don't like it. I don't like Lynn there. I don't like Pirtle there. I don't like Van Vliet there. Dwayne Dedmon actually, was nice, but now I think he switched up. I don't know where he was before, where he was performing pretty well last year. I think he's with the Knicks. I don't know, but now he's with Sacramento. I don't know what the situation is there. I haven't really kept up with some of these lesser teams like Sacramento and Atlanta, stuff like that. And Sacramento might actually have a shot to get to the playoffs this year, so I should probably be paying attention. But moving on, Dan Daniel, right? And I'm thinking this is gonna be an hour long, so I hope you got some time. But Dan Daniel is quite interesting. You got Steph, and I think Steph is gonna be big this year. and then you kind of pair that with a couple of big men that are going to be consistent, which is a pretty standard strategy. I think some people do. Like I do that. I like to pair. Whether if I get a premier big man, then I like to pair him with a nice guard in the next round, right? And vice versa. If I get obviously, this league is dominated with guards and wings. So if I get Steph Curry here, naturally I would like to get a solid center, because if I don't get this center in the next round, I'm not going to get a good center. I'm not going to get a premier center in round 3 or round 4, right? So I like Vucci here, in the second round. Is it perfect? I don't know, but is it sexy? I don't know. Probably not, most likely, but I do like Steph here with Vucci and Collins. You kind of balance out the rebounding. Steph is going to get you so much of everything else. So let's plug in what he won't get you as much, right? He won't rebound the ball as much. He won't get as much. Probably won't get you any blocks. So you got to get the guys that will do that. And so Vucci, Collins, they fill up and should be probably 20 and 10 guys this year. And Siakam, I really like this, actually. I really like Siakam. It's another unsexy pick, but I think it's going to be really productive. With Kawhi out of town, who's going to be the number 1 guy? I don't think it's going to be Kyle Lowry, guys. I think it's going to be Siakam. And I think Siakam is going to be your do-it-all guy. He's proved that he can score. So he's going to drop 20. Guaranteed. But Siakam can do a little bit of everything else. He's a very versatile defender. I think he's going to get you steals and blocks. I think that's another quite nice pick, actually, if you ask me. I think it fills the holes. I think as he picked Steph, he said, this is going to be my guy. I'm going to then revolve these guys around him, which is what you should do, right? A lot of times, people go too heavy-handed, in the first couple rounds. They get a guy like, Steph in the first round, and they try to pair him up with Brad Beal in the second round. I don't, like that to me wouldn't, that is too heavy-handed on particular categories. So I like this all-roundedness here. I like that he filled in some of the the holes from your first. That's why I look at Spicy Gasol and I really like it, because Anthony Davis does it all, and then you get Jimmy Butler, he does it all, and then Kemba Walker, he does a lot in particular areas, and then LaMarcus Aldridge is also very, very, very efficient and very, very, very consistent, and does all the other different things that Jimmy Butler and Kemba Walker probably won't provide. So it's like alternating that production, right? I get Jimmy Butler and I get Kemba Walker. Now I should get another guy that rebounds. Okay, now I got a guy that rebounds. Let me get some threes and steals. I got some threes and steals. Now I need to get blocks and rebounds, and Brook Lopez is right there, and he got that, and he adds more threes with that. So I like that pick. So this is a different approach. It was like, okay, I got some holes in Steph Curry, and then let me fill it up with Nico and John Collins, and Siakam is kind of like that all around guy there. You know what I mean? I really like it. The Danilo pick, I don't know. It's gonna be, I just, it's really hard for me to gauge how someone is gonna perform when it's a change of scenery. He's going from LA to Oklahoma City. Will he do well there? I don't know. But Danilo, the one thing he does do is he gets a lot of threes up. So it's solid. It's solid, but we'll have to see. Moving down, Gary Harris could be decent. I'm liking that Valanciunas pick, because I don't know if y'all was paying attention, but when Jonas, late in the season last year, he was going off. He was really going off. So could this really be the year where Jonas really proves, like, hey, look, guys, I'm in the top echelon of centers in this league, if you're putting Brook Lopez and Bam Bam and Mitchell Robinson in front of me, I don't know about that, guys. I could probably play too. So I like Jonas here. It's a cool upside pick, because he really was going off last year late in the season. TJ Warren was a guy that was totally underlooked. He was a guy that probably shouldn't have been on your waiver wire last year. So he's cool. I like that pick. Overall, got a lot of steals late here. I like it. There's it's a solid team. I'm not gonna go into category analysis. I'm just gonna look at guys and look at general composition. I just think that is a solid team. I like it. Is it sexy? No, it's probably the least sexy team. I don't even need to look, at the other teams I haven't reviewed yet, but this is probably the least sexy team. You got Kevon Looney on this team. I mean, Gary Harris, TJ Warren. These are guys that people don't know about. Malcolm Brogdon, Pascal Siakam. You ask your casual millennial, 16, 17, 18-year-old NBA fan, they probably don't know these guys, So, Vucci, who is idolizing Vucci, in the hood right now? Nobody. So this is actually a very unsexy team, but I think it could work. Moving on, Taco Tuesday. Liking Jokic, Gobert, Ayton, all together, big centers here. I think going with Mitchell Robinson in the 4th round is a little overkill, man. I know Robinson has some high upside. He's a guy that can probably block a lot of shots. But, do you pick Mitchell Robinson here? I mean, over Pascal Siakam, over Blake Griffin, over Porzingis? I mean, I don't know. I don't like that pick. I personally don't like that pick at all. I like the more consistent guys you can get after that got picked after that. So don't like Taco Tuesday's pick here at in the 4th round. Loving Lonzo Ball though. I'm telling you about this. Lonzo Ball. People talk about, Lonzo's a buzz, you know what I mean? But Lonzo has a fresh start. This could be his D'Angelo Russell moment here. And I really think that Lonzo paired up with Zion Williamson is going to be freaking Showtime 2.0. I think it's going to be Lob City 2.0. Y'all think I'm crazy. But I really do. I really think this is going to happen because Lonzo Ball is a very good passer, very good defender. And he now has a number 1 guy with him in Zion Williamson. I think it's going to be beautiful. Beautiful basketball in New Orleans. I think they got a good shot to make it to the playoffs. Do I expect them to make it to the playoffs? I don't put them in the top 8, but I think it wouldn't shock me if they got slipped into the 7th seed, 6th seed this year. Lonzo Ball is going to be a big part of that. And then you pair him up with Ja Morant. I think that with this core of 3 centers with Nico and Gobert and DeAndre Ayton, and then you got these 2 high upside point guards to go with them, Ja Morant is not going to bust, my friends. I mean, Memphis has nothing going on over there, so he's going to get all the touches. So you add those 2 guys to go with that big core, of solid centers. I like this team. I just wish he didn't, whoever this person was, didn't pick Mitchell Robinson in the 4th pick. I really hate that pick, man. I really hate that pick. I really would have loved to have seen Siakam there. Or get Blake Griffin, man. I mean, if you wanted, if you really was just picking this pick because of blocks, I don't like it there. I'd rather just go with consistency and get a guy LaMarcus Aldridge, right? Get your consistent percentages and you're scoring there and you get some rebounds and you'll be solid. You know what I mean? And if you really were targeting good point guards later on, then fine, do that. But I like the strategy, but I just don't like that Mitchell Robinson pick. I think that I like Ricky Rubio there in Phoenix. It's kind of cool. Who better, him or Conley? I don't know. I think I would rather pick Conley there, but I don't think I would stress too much on picking Rubio here. But I like the strategy with their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then 5th, 6th, and 7th pick here. Marvin Bagley, I think is going to be quite an interesting pick. I think he's really talented. I just don't think that he has. He hasn't shown it yet. In the NBA, he will be a sophomore this season. I think he's going to have a big leap this year. I don't know if it's going to be phenomenal. Will he be a top 100 player? Maybe. I think he could be. I think he should be, actually. But the upside is too great to not get him here. I think Bagley could be a top 50 player, which is why it's a really cool pick. I like it here. And so going with all that, you got all the other guys. I see Oladipo here at number 12. That really pokes out at me. I'm liking it. I don't know how long he's out for. So forgive me. I don't know how long he's out for, But Oladipo should not be a 12th round pick. Oladipo is a top 50 player guaranteed. I know he popped the ACL, whatever it was. But guys, if it wasn't ACL injury and people are scared of ACLs, guys, ACL is not as bad of a thing as it has been in the past anymore. You know, it wasn't like a death sentence to your NBA, NFL, MLB career. People come back from ACL injuries and come back very, very, very strong. You know, this year is in the NFL. If you're playing in the NFL, Cooper Kupp, my friends, Cooper Kupp, stronger than ever, better than ever, right? So Victor Oladipo, he should come back, and he should be right back in the top 50 for him. He should be the number one guy there in Indiana, and Indiana will be a playoff team again. I mean, they were a playoff team without him, so Oladipo should bring Indiana to a top 4 seed in the East. I love this pick. I really like this team, actually. Now that I look at it, I really like this team. I really do. I really like this team. I just don't like that Mitchell Robinson pick. I like Fournier. I like Barnes. I like these guys are, solid guys around him, But are they sexy picks? No. But he, what I like about this team is it has a lot of, what you're going to get, and it's good. You get Jokic, you got Gobert. I like Ayton. There's some upside there, but also that he's going to be a top 50 guy. I like Lonzo there. I like John Morant as your upside guys, and Marvin Bagley as your upside guys. I like Victor Oladipo in terms of an investment. I like DeAndre Jordan there as, dude, he's going to be the guy there in Brooklyn to protect that paint. And as your 13th pick, I really like that. I really, really like that. So this team really, really pokes out to me now. Out of all the other teams, I really like this one a lot. This one, I might even like this one more than Spicy Gasol. So moving on. We're looking at 51 minutes. 5 more teams left, so we're going to really try to rush through this one. Liking Kyle Lowry here. Liking Mike Conley here. Does it go with the rest of the team? Yeah, I like it. You got Karl Anthony Towns as your base. You got Andre Drummond, who's, a rebounding, blocking machine. Lots of threes from Devin and Kyle, and you got lots of steals there as well with Conley in the mix as well. I like it. Jaren Jackson, upside pick. Love it. I love it because this is a guy that potentially could be a 2-steal, 2-block guy. I like it a lot. Joe Ingles, man, he's impressive, bro. He is a guy that is I don't know how he does in fantasy, but he's a very much underrated player in real life in the NBA. I think he's actually filled the role that Gordon Hayward probably should have filled in Utah quite nicely. I like him there. I don't know how he does as a fantasy player. DeJounte Murray, really liking this one. Not sexy. Didn't really play a lot last year. I think he was hurt all year, actually. So I like this pick a lot because I think he's going to be the starting point guard, and I think he's going to be very good there. Kent Bazemore, right? He's probably going to be, the guy that replaces Al-Farouq Aminu. Farouq Aminu was pretty nice, actually, but is he going to fulfill? He could. So maybe this is good for a 12th round pick. Kyle Anderson in Memphis. I really don't know what the situation there in Memphis is like, so I can't really gauge on this. But as a whole, I kind of like it. I'm looking at it, I'm like, who is Thomas Bryant in the 7th round? I actually kind of missed that. I don't know who that is. So, I can't really gauge on that. As a whole, as a team, I like the defensive stats on this team. I really do. Cat's a monster. Drummond, blocks a lot of shots, gets steals too. Mike Conley gets a lot of steals. I think Jaren Jackson's going to be a 2-2 guy. If not, maybe a 1-2 guy, The one thing that kind of sticks out is that there's not a lot of threes on this team. You got Kyle, you got Devin. But then, your big men don't really shoot threes. Andre Drummond, Jaren Jackson. I think Jaren Jackson, maybe he might trickle in a 3 or 2. But you don't really have a lot of big men that shoot threes here. I know Zach Collins shoots threes, but he's not really the guy there, right? It's going to be Nurkic. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It doesn't come out as a sexy team, but we'll have to see. We'll really have to see. And I noticed that Nurkic didn't get selected, so I'm thinking, am I missing something here? Is Nurkic out for the season or something? Can I take a look at this? All right, so I did take a look at it, and Nurkic is out for about till February, I think. Okay, so it makes sense. Who's gonna take that spot? No Enes Kanter. I can see this. This is a good temporary pick. So for the thing with me, man, is I don't like picking guys who just gonna help you on the first half of the season and then not pan out in the second half of the season. And the reason why is because in the second half of the season, that's what matters the most. Because once you're in the playoffs, you want all your best guys in the playoffs. And so, yeah, sure, you benefit off of the first half production from certain guys and you get them late and everything. But then what are you going to do to fill that hole when you get to the playoffs, because that guy is obsolete now because, some guy comes back like Oladipo or in this case, Nurkic. What are you going to do to fill that hole? Because now Zach Collins, it's probably just going to be a bench guy, 20-minute guy who's probably going to get you a little bit, a couple, maybe a 3 and then, maybe a block and, a couple rebounds as opposed to full-time starters minutes. I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know about that. How I feel about that. But moving on. Team Kawhi. I really like the Dame Lillard pick here because I don't think I would have done it with Kawhi there because I really like Kawhi and I think Kawhi is still going to be a top player, fantasy player. Dame at this point here. The reason why I like it is because I think it's cool. It's different. Would I suggest would I would have done it? No, I wouldn't have. But Dame, you know what you're gonna get, man. At this point in his career, you just know what you're gonna get with Dame. Is it worth it there at the number 7 pick? I don't know. You know what I mean? Because the reason why I say I would rather pick Kawhi here is because Kawhi I think can continue to grow. I really do. I think Kawhi is the best player in the game today, and I think he has a little bit more room to grow. Dame at this point, you know what you're gonna get. You know what you're gonna get. He's a guy that's gonna get you a lot of threes, a lot of scoring, typical point guard shit, right? You know what you're gonna get with Dame. Is that a bad thing? No, I don't think it's a bad thing. So if you come here getting Lillard, what are you gonna back it up with? What he got Bradley Beal, so a lot more threes, a lot more scoring. So, add on more steals. I like it. What could he have done there is what I was thinking. Paul George was the guy there. If Paul George slips there, I definitely get Damian Lillard to pair up with Paul George. But Bradley Beal is probably the next guy you get there, unless you want to go with a different route and get a center. But do you get a center there? I don't know. I don't know. It's not probably not. So I like Zion. We already talked that. Chris Paul, I think, is going to be pretty cool there. He will be relied on a lot there in Oklahoma City. So the upside is there. But the one thing about Chris Paul is injuries. So you know how I feel about injuries. Injuries equals, zero production. And if Chris Paul gets hurt and something happens and, it's just going to be kind of a headache to deal with. Like in Jason Tatum, Chris Middleton down that line, you got some 3-and-D guys there. Really like that. But as a whole, none of these guys really come out as sexy to me. Rudy Gay in the 13th round is pretty cool. Kevin Huerter is a guy that doesn't really stick out to me. I think he is a guy that's best fit for the bench. Marcus Gasol there in Toronto might be counted on a little bit more, so I kind of like it here. But all these other guys, we kind of know what they are. Sweet Lou, Larry Nance isn't gonna grow. So Taransky is not gonna grow. I just don't like any of these picks. In the late rounds. Horford, solid. Middleton, solid. Tatum, solid. But none of these guys really poke out to me as they're really going to push your team over the hump and make you a champion in this league. I just don't see that. Zion would have to be a top 5 guy for this team to really stand a chance. Chris Paul will have to be back in the top 20 form for this team and do it all year long for this team to have a chance. Jason Tatum will have to take a leap, right? A huge leap, in Boston. I don't think that's going to happen because I think it's going to be an equal effort type of thing in Boston. So I think this is counting on a little bit too many different factors here, but we'll have to see. So hitting that 1 hour mark real soon. This is probably gonna be done in about 65 minutes. So we're gonna get through. We're gonna put Danilo Ice here. I love the first two picks of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. It's perfect. It's perfect. They're teammates. But even if they weren't, if Paul George is in Oklahoma City and Kawhi was in Toronto, that team really pokes out to me. You got two MVP caliber guys that do essentially the same things and do everything. And so that's why I like it a lot, because they do everything, and it's a great baseline to have balanced production in your top two guys. Miles Turner kind of fills that slight hole of just because I drafted two wing guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get someone that's gonna get me blocks and rebounds. Miles Turner, I think for a couple years has been expected to be a top 20 guy because, they thought, oh, young dude showed, some increased production in the blocks category, the rebounds and all that. He also can shoot threes. So I think it's cool there. I like, this is actually crazy, guys. I don't know if y'all remember. And if y'all didn't listen to the podcast earlier, I did say I liked those low-key 3 and D guys. And guys, I'm looking at the next two picks. Robert Covington, Otto Porter Jr. They're on the same team here with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. This team has a cute formula. I like it. I really do. It's a cute formula. I think you got a lot of 3 and D guys, a lot of guys who give you, production in multiple categories. I really like it. I really, really do. And so, you add in a bunch more threes here. D'Angelo Russell is a pretty good pick here in the sixth round. I think he's going to be counted on. I know I talked about Steph is going to be doing it all, but he will be counted on and take on a lot of the scoring load, a lot of the other extra things, because who else is going to be doing it? Like it here. Rozier, big upside pick here. He will be counted on to fill in Kemba's shoes here. Big upside pick. I like it. Derek Favors in New Orleans is gonna be kind of cool. Will he be the starting center there? I mean, I don't know. Somebody got to replace AD. So, could Favors do it? Even when Favors wasn't starting, and anytime he got into like a bench role, he kind of did a little bit of got you some rebounds, got you some blocks. So it's cool there. Hassan, I don't know who's gonna be the starter, right? If it's gonna be Zach Collins, the young kid, or Hassan Whiteside. This is another kind of cool upside pick to see if Hassan can really become the dude, the replacement in the meantime. I'm just gonna say this though, again, how I said before, I don't like first half guys because I don't think Hassan is gonna challenge Nurkic for the starting role when Nurkic comes back. Because I think Nurkic is that good. I've been saying it since 3 years ago. I thought Nurkic was really good. So Whiteside would have to be a monster for him to take that away from Nurkic when he comes back. Bogdanovich, kind of cool. I like it. He was really good for Indiana last year. And so I think he can fill in quite the same role here for Utah, especially Utah, a team that kind of lacks scoring. If you watched them last year, and we watched a lot of Utah games because they're right in the Western Conference, and they always seem to happen to play us. But, they lack scoring. They had to rely on Donovan Mitchell to do a lot of the facilitation and a lot of the, creating offense. Bogdanovich could create his own offense. So I like this pick here because I think Bogdanovich can continue what he did in Indiana here in Utah. So again, Danny Green, 3 and D guy, love it, especially in the 12th round. You're going with the same theme. I love it. Bertans, was he the best pick here? I don't know which way we're going here. Who could you have picked? Could you have picked Hazonia instead, or could you have picked a guy like Patrick Beverly instead, which would be perfect for this team? But Bertans, it's whatever. Maybe he sees something in the Bertans and then that I'm not seeing. But I love this team. It's a 3 and D team that contributes in all facets of the game, with everybody. So this is, to me, you got your other guys who are balanced in ways that because they have multiple guys that cover each other's flaws. But this team is, I'm just gonna keep stacking and padding, you know, you know, the same guy on top of each other. And if one guy just happens to have a bad week, then I'm just, that's the pro and con there, right? If one guy happens to have a bad week, doesn't produce, then I'm just getting, less of everything. But if they all come through, then I'm getting a lot of everything. And if I'm getting a lot of everything, or at least, above average of everything, and maybe, strong production in 2 or 3 categories, if I get enough in 2 other categories, I'm going to beat my opponent, because if I get enough in 2 other categories where my opponent is weak in, then I should beat him in that week, right? So the whole thing of, being good at everything and hoping I can just beat out all my opponent's weaker categories and then still be able to compete for their strong categories, I kind of like that idea. So I don't know. What do y'all think about that? I don't know. But we'll go on. Trying to make this quick. DHE. LeBron. We talked about him. Russell. Liked it. I don't know about Donovan Mitchell, man. Dang. He has a lot of growing to do as a player. And so whether that affects him fantasy-wise, I don't know. But I don't like him here. DeMar, again, is kind of a guy that's kind of not as sexy anymore in San Antonio. Draymond is pretty cool because I think his production should increase as he'll be relied on more. But going through, I like Aaron Gordon here. I really do. Steven Adams is not really sexy to me. Tobias Harris will be counted on a lot in Philadelphia. But everything else is kind of like, you know what I mean? I like Montrezl Harrell because he's a guy that, I think he was averaging like 60-something% from the field last year. But I can't tell you if he really provides defensive stats. But all the other guys kind of like scream out like, it's not sexy. I don't know, man. I kind of don't like this team that much. DeMar doesn't really shoot a lot of threes. And so, Donovan is not really an efficient 3-point shooter either. I mean, Russell doesn't even shoot threes, and LeBron, is a better 3-point shooter today in his career than ever. But nothing really stands out with this team. I think the other thing that doesn't stand out is, I don't know, like it just doesn't stand out to me. Derek White's nice. He slams on dudes, but I don't know. Going on, DeMar DeRozan. Embiid is my favorite player in the game today. So this is going to be a little bit biased that I like this team because of Embiid already. But he's definitely a monster. He's a monster, man. I like Embiid. He's funny, but he's dominant. Probably the best defensive center in the game right now. True center. Yeah, I know we talk about Gobert, but I think Embiid is actually the best defensive true center in the game. Inside, outside. Just needs a little bit of maturity in his game, and I think he can really, really, really blossom. You pair him up with Kyrie, it's cool. I like it, like the 1-2. The one thing about Kyrie is that he really hasn't been a top 15 guy in a long time. I don't think he ever has, actually. So Kyrie is a little bit scary. You say, new situation in Brooklyn. Well, you could have said the same thing back then. New situation in Boston when he got there. You saw how that turned out. So is it good? I don't know. Would you rather want Russell with it? I probably would have. Yeah, Kyrie, Joel. Clint Capella is not the sexy guy, but he gets all the efficiency points. Blocks shots. Lauri Markkanen is pretty cool. I think he has a lot of upside. He shoots a lot of threes at that big man spot and does a little bit of everything else too. I think he blocks a lot of shots. So that's cool. And then you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Kind of interesting to see what his role will be in OKC because with Chris Paul there, there's upside here because if they do decide to move Chris Paul, then he is going to be the guy they build on. But I like Shai here. I just think he'll be in a reduced role if Chris Paul, happens to stay in Oklahoma City for the next couple of years because I don't think Chris Paul is going to be moving because nobody wants that contract for the next 2 years. If he's expiring, which would be next year, That's a whole different. Would it be next year? I don't know if it's a 2 or 3 year contract. So whatever the situation is, Shea is going to have trouble producing with Chris Paul doing all the ball handling duty. Shea will have to become a scorer or a wing guy or a secondary ball handler. And to me, that doesn't sing production to me. Zach LaVine, like it, score, a guy who's been growing over the last couple years. Like that pick. Gordon Hayward should probably have to do a little bit more with Kyrie out. I know they bring in Kemba, but Gordon, Kemba isn't Kyrie, so Gordon will probably be counted on a little bit more as well this year. I like Wendell Carter Jr. He looked solid when he got minutes there in Chicago. Everything else is kind of like, okay, like Ibaka, Zubac, and McGee and JaVale McGee. Those aren't sexy picks, and to me, those are guys who they're going to be, and they're not going to be, they're not all of a sudden they're going to blow up and have top 50 seasons. They're not. They're just not. Those guys, they are who they are, and you know what you got there in those late rounds. But I really like this pick, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at this Tyler Hero pick, and I really like this pick, guys. And we're close to wrapping up, but I'll tell you why I like this pick, because I think Tyler Hero is going to be, I think he's going to be one of the premier players of the 2019 NBA draft. He's going to be one of the guys that, you talk about Zion Williamson and such, and then Cam Reddish is there. But Tyler Hero is going to be one of those guys that, is super underlooked right now, man. He is awesome. The dude can ball. He's got swagger. He can play. And I think there in Miami, he's going to start as, I think he's going to start, alongside Jimmy Butler. He's nice. He's nice. And I watched this guy a lot in Kentucky, and I definitely watched him a lot in Kentucky because he played my UH Cougs, and he beat my UH Cougs and put him out in the Sweet 16 where we should have been in Elite 8. We were up big in that game late. We were about 4 or 5 points. That's big. All right, 4 or 5 points is hard to come by in a college game. And Tyler Hero was hitting big shots. So I like this guy. I watched him in Summer League. He looked really nice. He looked unbothered. He didn't look, shook like the other white point guards in the game, Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy. So to me, Tyler Hero is a really cool pick here. I think he's going to be someone to watch. Overall, as a team, I don't know. It kind of seems all over the place. If I look at this team, I just don't see a true identity. You know what I mean? You got a bunch of you got a bunch of three. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a bunch of like Zubac and McGee and Ibaka. Those are guys you don't think of. You know what I mean? Like if when you see them on the other team, you're matched up against them this week, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's just Serge, it's just it's just JaVale. Sure, maybe they could get some blocks, and maybe that's what their purpose is. But couldn't you have gone elsewhere to get something with a little bit more intrigue, a little bit more upside? I don't know, but this team doesn't really poke out to me. I don't know if I was rushing through it, but the 2 teams that really popped out to me, the 3 teams that popped out to me is Spicy Gasol, obviously. I already talked about that, but Taco Tuesday is one of the teams I like. I like this team despite the Mitchell Robinson pick. I keep coming back to that, but I like this team a lot because I think it has a little bit of everything. It has consistency. It has an identity, and it has a lot of upside on a lot of different spots, not just in the middle rounds, but DeAndre Ayton has upside. Jokic might have a little bit upside because now he's another year. He's going to be a big focal point for Denver. They're going to be competing for Western Conference title. All right. And so I think Jokic could be a big part of that. You got a lot of upside in Lonzo. You got a lot of upside in Ja Morant. Different situation with Ricky Rubio might blow him up. Different situation for DeAndre Jordan might blow him up, but you might see, he is what he is, but maybe that's exactly what you wanted there in the 13th round. And Victor Oladipo is very nice. I think that Taco Tuesday is the kind of team that you have to be careful for, and I think has the highest upside of all the teams here, because let's say Harrison Barnes or whoever the case is, somebody on that team doesn't go off, and we're looking at Yusuf Nurkic, and we're saying, well, we're getting close to February, we're getting close to All-Star break, and Taco Tuesday is, I don't know what it is, first or second in the league, third in the league even, they'll take that chance. Third in the league, feeling good, feeling like, hey, I can continue to invest, in an injured player. Drop that guy, they bring in Nurkic, and then when it comes playoff time, this is a team that I would be scared of because they have a little bit of everything, and that is based on the idea that Ja Morant blows up, that Lonzo Ball blows up. They outperform 6th, 7th round dudes, 8th round from Marvin Bagley. So I like it. I really like it. It has a lot of upside. I like a team with a lot of upside. You got to gamble sometimes to you got to go big or go home. You know what I mean? So, it's, gambling here early, you going big. I like it. The other team is, Danilo Ice for sure. I really like this team. Just because this is a team that I probably would draft personally. Out of all these teams, this is the way I would draft. I know what I'm getting from Kawhi and Paul George. I like Robert Covington. I like Otto Porter Jr. Are these sexy picks? No, but I know that they're going to come through and get me what I want, and they're going to pad on to what I already have going on. D'Lo's a nice, I think, value pick in the 6th round. I like Terry Rozier with the upside. Not too hot on Whiteside, but I do like the late picks again. Danny Green fits that MO. Bogdanovich provides some scoring, some threes. It's really cool, man. I like it, and you're getting, you kind of padding on to different things with JJ Redick and all stuff. I like it. I like this team. So, out of all 10 of those teams, those are the 3 teams that I really like the most. There isn't really a team that, stands out as like, I don't like. If there is a team that I probably say that I don't like, if I, Johnny said, to really lay it on to y'all, I'm gonna say the team that I really don't like is probably let's take a look. It's probably I really don't want to let it's probably Zion King. I think it's Zion King. Simply because I think Trae Young at number 3 is just weird to me. So I don't know. It just doesn't have a lot of sexy guys on here, and it's especially guys that I think that will produce. You talk about unsexy guys, but unsexy guys that produce. To me, these are unsexy guys that I don't think will produce. So we'll have to see, man. But there you go, man. I'm almost done. That's the podcast, guys. I'll come back in next time. If you want to hear another hour and 15 minutes of me just talking about some boo-boo, check in next week or something. We'll talk about fantasy football, fantasy basketball. We'll talk about baseball. We'll do it all. So hope y'all enjoyed that. I know it was long, but we'll do it again. All right, peace.